On Boxing Day, my son looked across the dinner table and said, "You're retired now, Dad. That's the point of view anymore?" His wife nodded in agreement. That's when I realized I'd spent 18 years and $320,000 raising a son who saw me as nothing more than an expired ATM card. So, I did something they never expected. I paid off their mortgage, packed 2 suitcases, and booked a one-way ticket to Portugal. What I left in that envelope on their kitchen counter changed everything. Before I continue, I should mention that I'm recording this from a small cafe in Lagos, Portugal, where the ocean crashes against limestone cliffs and nobody knows my name. But let me start at the beginning. Because the beginning explains why I'm here and not in Vancouver anymore. The living room felt too warm. December 26, and the fireplace was going strong because Jennifer insisted the house needed to feel cozy for the holidays. I'd been up since 6 preparing the turkey, roasting vegetables, making my late wife Catherine's famous butter tarts. The ones Michael used to beg for when he was 8 years old. Back when he still looked at me like I was his hero instead of his burden. He pushed back from the table, my knees protesting. 62 years old. And some days I felt every single one of them. The envelope sat in my jacket pocket, crisp and waiting. Inside was a check for $15,000. Michael had called 3 weeks ago, voice tight with stress, talking about property taxes and holiday expenses and how Jennifer's boutique wasn't doing as well as projected. "Michael, I have something for you," I said, pulling out the envelope. My voice sounded hopeful. Too hopeful, probably. "Happy Boxing Day." He took it without looking up from his phone, tearing the paper with his thumb while Jennifer picked at her dessert and their daughter Emma colored at the kids' table. My granddaughter, 7 years old, wearing a dress I'd bought her for Christmas. Emma was the reason I'd stayed silent for so long, watching my son and his wife turn my house into their personal safety net while treating me like an inconvenient piece of furniture. Michael's eyes scanned the check. His expression didn't change. Not a smile, not even acknowledgement, just nothing. 15,000, the words came out flat. I set it down on the table between the butter tarts and the cooling coffee. "That's it." Something cold moved through my chest. "Well, I thought it would help with the property tax situation you mentioned. And maybe you know what, Dad?" Michael looked up then, and his eyes were different, harder than I remembered. "When had that happened?" "You're retired now. You're not working anymore. You're just here. That's the point of view anymore?" Honestly, time did something strange. The fireplace crackling faded to white noise. Jennifer's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Emma's crayons paused mid-stroke, but Michael's face stayed perfectly calm like he'd just commented on the weather. He tried to speak. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. My hands found the edge of the table, gripping the wood Catherine had picked out when we bought this house 30 years ago, the house I'd paid for with 40 years of accounting work. The house Michael and Jennifer had been living in for 4 years now because Vancouver rent is impossible and we just need a year to get on our feet. "What did you say?" The words barely made it past my lips. "You heard me." Michael sat down his phone, leaned back in his chair. "You're not contributing anymore. You're just taking up space. Jennifer and I were trying to build something here and you're always in the way with your routines and your rules about the thermostat and your complaints about noise." "Michael, maybe Jennifer started, but it was performative." He could see it in her face. "She'd been thinking this, though." "No, Jen, he needs to hear this." Michael's voice carried that particular tone I'd come to recognize over the years. The one that said he'd made up his mind, and any disagreement was personal offense. "We've been patient. We've tried to make this work. But honestly, it's like living with a ghost who pays bills. You don't work. You don't have hobbies. You just exist here watching us, judging us." The check lay on the table. 15,000 pesos nobody wanted. Or rather, not enough. Never enough. "He just wanted to help," I said quietly. "Where's the property taxes?" "Help? Michael laughed short and bitter. Dad, your help always comes with strings. Always has. You helped pay for my wedding, but then you had opinions about the venue. You helped with the down payment on Jen's boutique, but then you needed monthly updates on the finances. You let us live here, but we have to follow your rules. It's suffocating. He looked at Jennifer. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Looked at Emma, sweet Emma, who'd stopped coloring and was watching with confused 7-year-old eyes. Looked at the photo of Catherine on the mantel taken those years before the cancer, her smile frozen in better times. What exactly do you want? My voice came from somewhere far away. Space. Jennifer finally spoke up. We want to live our lives without feeling like we're constantly being monitored, without having to report to you like children. You live in my house, I said. The words felt heavy. Rentré for 4 years. Exactly. My child's voice rose. Your house, your rules, your constant presence. We're 35 years old, Dad. We need our own space. We need you to either give us the house properly. Or, he trailed off. Or what? Michael exchanged a glance with Jennifer. Something passed between them. Something they'd already discussed probably many times. Or maybe it's time we looked at other arrangements, Jennifer said carefully. For everyone's comfort, the fireplace popped. A log shifted, sending up sparks. Outside, Vancouver rain tapped against the windows. December rain that felt like March in its coldness. He stood slowly, feeling my age in every joint. I need some air. Yeah, that's right, Michael said as I turned toward the kitchen. Walk away. That's what you always do when you don't want to face reality. I walked through the kitchen doorway, leaving them at the table with their turkey and their truth. The kitchen held the day's chaos. Dishes piled in the sink, the smell of roasted meat gone cold, counters cluttered with serving platters I'd spent the morning preparing. He went to the sink, gripped the edge with both hands. Through the window, rain fell on the backyard garden Catherine had planted. Each drop adding weight to branches already bent. My reflection stared back from the dark glass. An old man with gray hair and tired eyes who'd just been told he had no point. The kitchen door swung open behind me. Don't just walk away, Dad. Michael's voice sharp. He crossed the space in 3 strides. We need to talk about this. Really talk. He turned slowly. What's there to talk about? You've made your position clear. I'm retired, so I'm useless. That's not what he stopped, ran his hand through his hair. A gesture I remembered from his teenage years when he was frustrated. Look, I'm just being honest. You sit around this house all day doing nothing. You're always here, always watching, always in our business. This is my house, Michael. I live here. And that's the problem. His voice rose. This will never be our house as long as you're here. We can't make decisions. We can't even rearrange furniture without you having an opinion. Jennifer wants to knock down the wall between the kitchen and dining room, but we can't because it's your house. So, you want the house. The words came out flat, emotionless. We want a life, Dad. A real life, not this. This weird limbo where we're 35-year-olds living like teenagers under your roof. You could move out. Michael laughed bitterly. With Vancouver housing prices, you know, we can't afford anything. Jennifer's boutique is struggling. My graphic design work is mostly contract. We're stuck. Stuck with free rent, free utilities, and a father who apparently has no point. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. I shouldn't have said it like that, but you meant it. Silence. The rain got louder. The fridge hummed its eternal song. What do you want from me, Michael? Spell it out. He took a breath. I want you to transfer the house to us. Sign it over. You're 62. You have your pension, your retirement savings. You could get a nice condo somewhere, something easier to maintain. We did take care of this place. It would finally be ours. There it was, the real conversation under all the others. They didn't want me gone from the house. They wanted the house gone from me. And if I say no, his jaw tightened. Then we're going to start looking at other options. Assisted living facilities, maybe places where you could have support activities, people your own age. The words hit like physical blows. I'm 62 years old, Michael. I'm not ready for assisted living. Then be reasonable about the house. He looked at my son, really looked at him. When had the boy who used to help me rake leaves become this stranger? When had my help become control in his mind? When had my presence become a burden? You need to think, I said. That, I said, I need to think. I moved toward the hallway, past him, toward my bedroom, the master bedroom that used to be mine and Catherine's, the room where I'd slept alone for 3 years since cancer took her. He closed the door behind me and sat in the dark for a long time. The rain continued its percussion against the window. He sat in the reading chair Catherine had insisted we buy, the one she'd nursed in during her final months. My laptop sat on the desk, closed, my phone on the nightstand, silent. The house settled around me with familiar creaks, sounds I'd known for 30 years. 2 pulgadas the morning, I finally stood, walked to the filing cabinet where I kept important documents, found the folder marked property documents in Catherine's careful handwriting. Pulled it out, sat at the desk, opened my laptop. The mortgage documents told a story I already knew. Purchase date, February 14, 1994. 30 years ago purchase price, $280,000. Current value, according to the latest assessment, 1.8 million. Vancouver real estate endlessly climbing. Ide paid off the mortgage in 2014, 2 years before Catherine died. We'd celebrated with champagne and takeout Chinese food, sitting in this very room, laughing about finally being free of that monthly payment. She died 18 months later. The property was entirely in my name. Catherine and I had discussed adding Michael years ago, but she'd been hesitant. Let's wait, she'd said. Let's see how he develops. Let's make sure he understands the value of things. We'd waited. Then cancer happened, and we'd forgotten about it, focused on treatments and hope, and eventually hospice care. Now, Michael and Jennifer had lived here for 4 years, not as owners, not even as official tenants with a lease. Used as family, because family helps family, because when your son calls crying about eviction notices and his pregnant wife, you say yes. You always say yes. He opened a spreadsheet, started calculating 4 years asterisco 12 months times what they would have paid in rent for a house this size in Vancouver. 2,500 a month minimum time 48 months $120,000 in rent they'd never paid. Property taxes had covered 6,000 per year times 4 years 24,000. Utilities, gas, electric, water, internet, property insurance, another 000 per month, 48,000. The loans that were never paid back. Down payment for Jennifer's boutique, 20,000. Michael's car when his old one died, 8,000. Emergency dental work, 3,000. Wedding expenses I'd covered beyond their budget, $12,000. Total $235,000 over 4 years. And I had no point anymore because I was retired. He pulled up my bank accounts. Pensión account 412,000 pesos. Savings 83,000. Investment portfolio 200,000 pesos. Total liquid assets 695,000 pesos. Then I did something I'd been thinking about since dinner. He called the property tax office, left a message requesting the payoff amount for any outstanding liens. Kajit, my lawyer, Bill Harrison, left a message asking about property transfer implications and what rights Michael and Jennifer had as residents. 3 in the morning, Catherine's photo watched from the nightstand. He picked up the silver frame, traced my finger over her smile. I tried, Kat, I whispered to the empty room. He really tried with him. She didn't answer. Photos never do, but I knew what she'd say. She'd said it before Michael and Jennifer moved in, before the descent into this mess. Tom, don't let people mistake your kindness for obligation. You can help without sacrificing yourself. They've forgotten that lesson. I spent 4 years being the expired ATM card. The ghost who pays bills. The retired man with no point. Not anymore. Morning came gray and cold. I made coffee, strong coffee, the kind that could strip paint. Michael and Jennifer's bedroom door stayed closed. Emma would be at her friend's house for a sleepover. I had the house to myself. Bill Harrison called back at 9:30. Tom, got your message. What's going on? I need to know my options. Bill, Michael and Jennifer have been living in my house for 4 years. No lease, no formal agreement. What rights do they have? A pause. Legally, very limited. Month-to-month residence without a lease. You could give them notice to vacate. 30 days in British Columbia for family situations, but 60 days is safer. Tom, what happened? They want me to sign over the house or move into assisted living. Jure 62. Y no. Anoter pause. What do you want to do? I looked around my kitchen, my house, the space I'd built with Catherine, the place where Michael had grown up, where Emma had taken her first steps, the place that had become a prison somehow. I want it back, Bill. I want my house back. I want my life back. Understood. I draft a notice to vacate. 60 days, standard form. You'll need to deliver it personally or by registered mail. Tom, this is going to be difficult. It already is. I have it ready by end of day. One more thing. Have they contributed anything financial? Any rent? Any utilities? Nothing. Document everything. Every expense you've covered, dates, amounts, purposes. If this gets ugly, you'll need proof. We talked logistics for 20 more minutes. When I hung up, my hands weren't shaking anymore. Purpose has a way of studying old bones. I spent the day with my spreadsheet, building a complete financial record, every grocery bill that fed 3 adults and a child, every utility payment, every repair to the house, every cent I'd given or lent or paid on their behalf. The numbers climbed higher than I'd realized. By the time Michael and Jennifer returned home that evening, I had a document that told a story in dollars and cents. A story about a man who'd sacrificed his retirement piece for family that saw him as expire. He didn't show them the document. Not yet. He needed one more thing first. The next morning, I called my bank. First National, this is Patricia speaking. How may I help you? I need to speak with someone about transferring funds. A large amount. She transferred me to a wealth management advisor. His name was Derek. Voice smooth and professional. Mr. Morrison, I see you have several accounts with us. What kind of transfer are we discussing? I want to move funds from my investment portfolio. How much could I access immediately? The portfolio is currently valued at $200,000. We could liquidate within 3 business days. May I ask the purpose? Personal. I'm making some life changes. Understood. Would you like me to initiate the liquidation? I thought about Michael's face, Jennifer's careful words. 4 years of being invisible in my own home. Yes. Process it today. Very good, sir. The funds will be in your checking account by Thursday. Thursday, 3 days away. I could work with that. I hung up and opened my laptop. Flights from Vancouver to Lisbon. I'd never been to Portugal. Catherine and I had always talked about it after retirement when we had time. We'd never found that time. Cancer had other plans, but I had time now. All the time in the world. One-way ticket, 890 pesos. Departure, Friday morning, 5 days away. I clicked purchase before I could second guess myself. Then I looked up rentals in Lagos, Portugal, a small town on the southern coast that I'd read about in a travel magazine months ago. Limestone cliffs, fishing boats, cafes that served paste de nata, and strong coffee. A place where nobody knew me. Where I wouldn't be the retired man with no point. Found a furnished apartment, €900 per month, ocean view, available immediately. Sent an inquiry. Got a response within an hour. The owner, a British expat named Margaret, said she'd hold it for me if I wired first and last month's rent. I did. Everything was moving fast now, momentum building. I drafted an email to my pension provider arranging for direct deposit to my Canadian account that I could access from anywhere. Called my phone provider about international plans. Researched Portuguese visas for Canadians. Discovered I could stay 90 days without one, longer if I applied for a residence permit. By Wednesday, Bill had the eviction notice ready. I drove to his office, signed the papers, took the envelope with my son's name on it. You sure about this, Tom? Bill studied me over his reading glasses, more sure than I've been about anything since Catherine died. What about Emma? The question hit hard. My granddaughter, 7 years old, bright and funny and innocent in all this mess. Ella write her a letter. Explain when she's older. But Bill, I can't sacrifice my dignity for access to my granddaughter. Michael's already using her as leverage, whether he knows it or not. What about Emma? They say like my self-respect should disappear because I'm a grandfather. Bill nodded slowly. I understand more than you know. I did something similar with my daughter 10 years ago, best decision I ever made. We have a relationship now, but on healthy terms. Took 5 years to get there, but we got there. Did she apologize? Eventually, after she realized what she'd lost, he handed me the envelope. Deliver this however you see fit. Registered mail is safer legally, but personal delivery is more immediate. I took the envelope. Ella deliver it personally. They should see my face when they realize I'm done. Thursday morning, the liquidated investments appeared in my checking account. 200,000 pesos minus fees. Added to my existing savings and pension, I had more than enough to start fresh. I withdrew $1,500 in cash, emergency money for Portugal. The bank teller raised her eyebrows at the amount but processed it without comment. Back home, I started packing. 2 suitcases. That's all I'd take. Clothes for warm weather. My laptop. Important documents. Caterina's wedding ring on its chain around my neck. Photos of her. Of Michael as a child. Of Emma. I wasn't running from memories, just from people who didn't value me. Left behind. Furniture. Kitchen items. Most of my books, the accumulated debris of 62 years, all of it could stay. All of it was just weight anyway. Thursday evening, I wrote the letter. Took me 4 drafts to get the tone right. Not angry, not sad, just done. The final version. Michael and Jennifer, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Not gone the way I apparently should be, according to our Boxing Day conversation, but gone on my terms. eBay liquidated some investments. I'm leaving the country. I'm starting over somewhere that sees retired people as having a point. You find enclosed a legal notice to vacate. You have 60 days from today, December 28th, to leave this property. The house at 847 Maple Street is mine, has always been mine, will remain mine. In 4 years, I've provided you with housing, utilities, and financial support totaling $235,000. You've contributed nothing. You called me pointless because I'm retired. You suggested assisted living because I'm inconvenient. You wanted the house without earning it, without appreciating it, without even pretending to be grateful. I'm 62 years old. I have 20 good years left, maybe more. I choose to spend them being valued, not tolerated. The eviction notice is legal and binding. My lawyer has copies. Don't try to contest it. You have no lease, no ownership stake, no legal grounds. When you told me I had no point, you accidentally told the truth. I had no point in staying where I wasn't wanted. I have every point in leaving. Don't contact me. I won't answer. When Emma is older and asks, tell her grandpa loved her. But grandpa loved himself, though. Tom Morrison. I read it 3 times. Every word felt right. Cold, maybe, but honest, fair. I printed 2 copies, one for them, one for Bill's files. Folded the original around the eviction notice, slid both into a manila envelope, sealed it, wrote on the front in black marker. Michael and Jennifer read immediately. Now for placement. The kitchen table felt too casual. The mantel too dramatic. Then I remembered Michael's home office. The room that used to be my workshop where I'd helped him build his first bookshelf when he was 12, where he now did his graphic design work and complained about my existence. He walked upstairs, envelope in hand, opened the office door. His desk sat cluttered with sketches and screens and coffee cups he never brought down to wash. I placed the envelope in the center of his keyboard. Impossible to miss. Then I did something I hadn't planned. I took a photo of his office, cluttered and messy and screaming entitlement. Sent it to my phone. Evidence of how they'd turned my house into their space without permission or gratitude. Walked back downstairs. My suitcases waited by the front door. Boarding pass printed and ready. Uber scheduled for 4 pulgadas the morning. Flight at 7:30. I spent my last evening in my reading chair, Catherine's photo in my lap, watching rain fall on Vancouver. Didn't they sleep, couldn't sleep. So much anticipation mixed with grief mixed with freedom. At 3:45, I stood, took one last walk through the house. Every room held memories. Michael's first steps in the hallway. Caterina's laughter in the kitchen. Christmas mornings, birthday parties, ordinary Tuesdays that had mattered. But memories weren't enough anymore. Not when the present held only judgment and being tolerated. The Uber arrived at 4. Driver named Hassan, quiet and professional, loaded my suitcases without small talk. He appreciated that. We pulled away from 847 Maple Street. I didn't look back. At the airport, everything moved with dreamlike quality. Check-in, security, finding my gate, bought terrible coffee, and sat watching planes take off through floor-to-ceiling windows. 6 in the morning, Michael and Jennifer were probably still sleeping. They'd find the envelope when Michael went to his office, probably around 9. My phone sat on my lap, powered on, waiting. At 8:45, it started. First call, Michael Mobile. He watched it ring, let it go to voicemail. Second call. 30 seconds later, Michael. Again, ignored. Third call, Jennifer. Ignored. Fourth call. Michael. He answered. What the hell is this, Dad? His voice came through loud enough that the woman sitting next to me glanced over. He lowered the volume, kept my voice calm. You found my letter. Good. You can't do this. You can't just kick us out. I can, actually. Bill Harrison confirmed it. You're month-to-month residence with no lease. eBay given you 60 days. That's more than legally required. We have a child. I'm aware. I'm her grandfather, which is why you have 60 days instead of 30 to find appropriate housing. Dad, please. His voice shifted, tears entering the manipulation playbook, page 1. Please, we can talk about this. I'm sorry about what I said. He was frustrated. I didn't mean you meant every word, Michael. You've been thinking it for months, probably years. He was just convenient until I wasn't. Well, I'm done being convenient. Where are you? Panic now. Are you at home? No. Where are you going? Somewhere. You have a point. Dad, you have 60 days. My lawyer has all the documentation. Don't damage the house. Don't take anything that isn't yours. And Michael, tell Emma that Grandpa loves her, but tell her when she's older that sometimes loving yourself is more important than being used by people who should love you. He ended the call, powered off the phone completely, slid it into my carry-on bag. The boarding announcement came 10 minutes later. Flight SC-867 to Lisbon now boarding all zones. He stood, grabbed my bag, joined the line of passengers heading toward the gate, toward whatever waited on the other side of the Atlantic. The flight attendant scanned my boarding pass. Windows seat 23 ampes. Enjoy your flight, Mr. Morrison. I intend to, I said, and I meant it. Lisbon arrived with golden afternoon light and temperatures that felt like July instead of December. He cleared customs, caught a bus south toward Lagos. 3 hours of Portuguese countryside rolling past windows, cork trees and whitewashed villages and olive groves that looked ancient. Lagos appeared at sunset. A small harbor town, fishing boats bobbing in the bay, limestone cliffs glowing orange in dying light. The apartment Margaret had rented me sat above a cafe, narrow stairs leading up to a blue door. She met me with keys and a smile. British, probably 70, sun-weathered and welcoming. You must be town. Welcome to Lagos. You love it here. Theater's brilliant. People are lovely. And nobody bothers you unless you want bothering. The apartment was small. Bedroom, bathroom, kitchen that opened to a living room with balcony. But the balcony looked directly at the Atlantic Ocean, waves crashing against cliffs, seabirds wheeling in thermal currents. He stood there for an hour, just breathing, salt air, and freedom. And the particular relief of being somewhere nobody expected anything from you. That first week passed in a blur of adjustment. Learning Portuguese grocery stores, figuring out coffee culture, walking the beach promenade, watching surfers ride waves that looked impossible. Every day felt like recovery from an illness I hadn't known I had. My phone stayed off. I'd brought it for emergencies, but kept it in a drawer, powered down. Whatever messages waited could wait forever. 10 days in, I bought a new Portuguese phone. New number. Gave it to Margaret, to Bill Harrison, to my pension provider, nobody else. Fresh start, clean slate. The anger faded slowly. Walking helped. He walked kilometers every day up coastal paths down to fishing beaches through town markets where vendors sold fresh octopus and strawberries and cheese I couldn't pronounce. Movement loosened something tight in my chest. Met other expats at a cafe called Bonya. Harry and Susan from Manchester, both 75, retired teachers who'd sold everything 8 years ago and never looked back. Dieter from Germany, 68, former engineer who now spent his days painting watercolors of boats. Maria from Brazil, 59, whose laugh could light up a room. They asked why I'd come. He told them the short version. Maria reached across the table, squeezed my hand. Good for you, she said. Family is important, but self-respect is necessary. Harry nodded. Our daughter didn't speak to us for 3 years after we left England. Thought we were selfish, abandoning her and the grandkids. Know what happened? She visited, saw how happy we were, apologized. Now she comes twice a year, and our relationship is better than it ever was. Does it always work out? He asked. No, Susan said honestly. But it's not about them working out. It's about you being okay regardless. You can't set yourself on fire to keep ungrateful people warm. Love. 3 weeks in, I tried surfing. There is a surf school near Prieto run by a Portuguese guy named Tiago, maybe 30. Patient and encouraging. You're never too old, he said when I hesitated. He teach people in their 70s. The first lesson was humbling. He fell a lot. Salt water up my nose, board bouncing off my head, muscles I'd forgotten I had screaming in protest. But when I finally stood, even for 3 wobbling seconds, I laughed. Actually laughed deep and genuine. Tiago grinned. See, you're a natural. Coming back tomorrow. He did. And the next day, and the next. By week 4, I could ride small waves for almost 10 seconds. It wasn't about becoming good. It was about trying something new, about proving to myself that retire didn't mean expire. I started taking Portuguese lessons, though, at the library, a volunteer program for expats. My teacher was Anna, 23, studying to be an interpreter, endlessly patient with my terrible pronunciation. You're doing well, she'd say, even when I butchered basic phrases. I'm 62. My brain doesn't absorb like it used to. Your brain absorbs fine. You just need practice. And you have time now, Sim. Dime? Yes, I had time. All the time in the world. 6 weeks in, I finally powered on my Canadian phone. Wanted to check that Bill had handled everything properly. The phone took forever to boot up, then exploded with notifications. 73 missed calls, 42 text messages, 15 voicemails, all from Michael and Jennifer. I didn't read the texts, didn't listen to the voicemails, just checked my email for Bill's messages. His most recent from yesterday. Tom, eviction completed. They vacated on day 58, 2 days early. House is empty. He did a walkthrough. Minor damage to office wall, but nothing major. They left it reasonably clean. Keys returned to my office. Property is secure. Hope you're doing well wherever you are. Bill, I read it twice. They were gone. The house was mine again. Empty, but mine. Scrolled back through Bill's earlier emails. Timeline of the eviction process. Michael trying to negotiate. Bill shutting it down. Jennifer's lawyer sending threatening letters that went nowhere because they had no case. Their increasingly desperate attempts to reach me. All blocked by Bill's firm, professional responses. The last email from Michael to Bill forwarded to me. Please tell my father we're sorry. We made a mistake. We want to make this right. Too late for that. Some mistakes aren't fixable. Some relationships once broken don't heal into their original shape. He replied to Bill. Thank you for handling everything. I'm in Portugal. I'm staying indefinitely. Please arrange for a property management company to maintain the house. I'll decide what to do with it eventually. Send me the bills. Then I blocked Michael and Jennifer's numbers, deleted all their messages unread, powered down the phone again. He wasn't ready yet. Maybe I'd never be ready. But that wasn't my problem to solve anymore. 3 months in Lagos and my life had shape. Mornings, Portuguese lessons, late mornings, writing. I'd started a blog about starting over after 60, about choosing yourself, about finding point when everyone says you have none, small audience but growing. Afternoons, surf lessons or beach walks or coffee with expats. Evenings cooking simple meals, reading on my balcony, watching sunsets that never got old. Met a woman too, Elena, Portuguese, 61, widow like me. She ran a bookshop in town, spoke perfect English, smiled when she talked about books the way Catherine used to. We started as friendly acquaintances at Bondia Cafe. Then book recommendations, then dinners. Nothing serious, just company. Nice company. You seem lighter, she said one evening over wine and grilled sardines. Than when you first arrived. Less heavy. I feel lighter, I admitted, like I'd been carrying weight for years and finally set it down. Your son, I told her the basics. She'd nodded knowingly. My daughter did similar things. Wanted money, wanted control, wanted me to be who she needed instead of who I am. We don't speak much now. It hurts, but less than tolerating disrespect. Do you regret it? She thought about that, sipping her wine. Sometimes I regret that it was necessary, but I don't regret doing it. Does that make sense? It did. Perfect sense. 4 months in, Bill emailed again. Tom, property manager setup. House is secure and maintained. I have a question. There is interest from a buyer. Unsolicited offer 1.9 million. That's above assessment value. Want me to pursue it? He stared at the email for 3 days before responding. Selling meant severing the last tie. The house Catherine and I had built our life in, the house Michael had grown up in, the house that held 30 years of memories. But also the house that had become a prison. The place where I'd learned that family could consume you if you let them. He replied, pursue it. If the offer is firm, accept it. Those weeks later. Offer accepted. 1.9 million. After fees and taxes, you'll clear approximately 1.6. Closing in 45 days. Tom, this is really happening. Yes, it really was. The money hit my account on a Tuesday. 1.6 million. Added to what I already had, I was looking at just over 2 million in total assets. I sat on my balcony, laptop open, looking at numbers that represented freedom. At 62, with modest living expenses in Portugal, that money could last 30 years. 40 if I was careful. He could die an old man in Logos, never working again, never being anyone's burden or ATM card. Sent an email to the residency visa office. Began the process of becoming a permanent resident of Portugal. If they'd have me, I'd stay. 6 months in May in Logos, which meant tourists arriving, but still manageable. My Portuguese was functional now. Not fluent, but good enough for daily life. Good enough to joke with Fernando the fisherman, to order complicated drinks, to understand when Anna told me my grammar was improving. My blog had grown, 2,000 followers. People wrote comments about their own family situations, their own escapes, their own moments of choosing themselves. He wrote back to everyone. Community built from shared experience. Elena and I were more than friends now. Not love, not yet, maybe never, but companionship, comfort, someone who understood that starting over didn't mean forgetting, just meant moving forward. Then the email came. Not from Michael, from in my subject line, Grandpa. My hand hovered over the delete button. Then I opened it. Dear Grandpa Tom, Mom gave me your email. She said you're in Portugal. I'm 9 now, almost 9.5. I miss you. Mom and Dad are divorced now. Dad lives in a small apartment. Mom lives with Aunt Sarah. I live with both. Switching weeks. Dad says he's sorry about what happened. I cry sometimes. Mom doesn't talk about it. I found your blog. I read all of it. You write good. I understand now why you left. I'm not mad, but I miss you. Could we maybe video call sometime if you want? If you don't, that's okay, though. I hope you're happy. I hope Portugal is nice. Love, Emma. I read it 7 times. Check the email address. It was Emma's school email, not Michael's or Jennifer's. She'd written this herself. Sat on my balcony for an hour watching waves, thinking she was 9 years old, innocent in all this. She'd lost her grandfather because her parents were entitled idiots. That wasn't her fault. But if I opened this door, would Michael try to worm his way back through it? Would this become another form of leverage? Another way to pull me back into their orbit? Elena found me there, forehead creased. That's wrong? He showed her the email. She read it slowly, then sat beside me. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to reply. Says my granddaughter. Says innocent, but part of me knows this could be a trap or could become one. What does your gut say? I closed my eyes, felt the sun on my face, the ocean breeze, the peace I'd built over 6 months. My gut says Emma deserves a relationship with her grandfather. But it has to be on my terms. Direct relationship, no parents as intermediaries, no using her to get to me. Then tell her that I wrote the reply carefully. Multiple drafts finally. Dear Emma, I'm happy to hear from you. I'm proud that you found my blog and read it. You're growing up smart and thoughtful. I would love to video call with you, but I need you to understand something. My relationship with your dad is complicated right now. I love him, but we hurt each other. And I need space from that hurt. You and I can have a relationship. Use tu ese, grandpa and granddaughter. But your dad can't use our calls to try to fix things with me. If he tries, I'll have to stop the calls. Is that fair? I'm happy in Portugal. It's beautiful here. I'm learning Portuguese and surfing and writing. I'm choosing myself, which is something I should have done years ago. I hope you're happy, though. I hope your parents' divorce doesn't hurt you too much. You're not responsible for their choices or mine. You're just Emma, and that's enough. Let me know if you want a video call. Sunday mornings, my time are good. That's Saturday evenings your time. Love, Grandpa Tom. He'd send before I could overthink it. Her reply came 2 hours later. Yes, Saturday evenings work. Can we call this weekend? And Grandpa, thank you for being honest. Dad did ask me to tell you he's sorry, but I won't talk about that anymore. Use tu ese. Promise. We video called that Saturday. Seeing her face on the screen made my chest tight. She'd grown, lost 2 teeth, hair longer. Still Emma, but older. We talked for 45 minutes. She told me about school, about her friends, about the new Pokemon game she was playing. I told her about logos, about learning to surf, about the time I'd accidentally ordered octopus that was still moving. She laughed. God, I've missed that laugh. Are you coming back to Canada? She asked near the end. I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe to visit someday, but I live here now. That's okay. Can we keep calling every week if you want? You won't. Then we will. She waved goodbye and the screen went dark. And I sat there feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Connected to family, but on my terms, not being used, not being taken for granted, just being grandpa to a granddaughter who missed me. It wasn't perfect. Perfect would have been my son apologizing genuinely, understanding what he'd done wrong, rebuilding trust slowly. But perfect wasn't available. This was available. This small connection that didn't cost my dignity, I'd take it. Now sitting in this cafe in Lagos, 7 months after leaving Vancouver, I watch Portuguese fishermen unload their morning catch. The sun is warm. My coffee is strong. Elena will arrive in an hour for our usual lunch. Emma and I have our call scheduled for tonight. The house sold. My son imploded his own laugh. My granddaughter understands more than any 9-year-old should have too. But I'm here living, breathing, having a point that nobody gets to define except me. Retirement isn't the end. It's just another beginning if you let it be. And sometimes choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. I still miss Michael sometimes. The boy he was, the relationship we could have had. But I don't miss being told I have no point. Don't miss being the ghost who pays bills. If you've made it this far in my story, maybe you're in a similar situation. Maybe you're being taken for granted. Maybe someone has told you explicitly or implicitly that your worth ended when your usefulness did. It is what I learned. Your point isn't determined by who needs you. Your point is determined by you still being alive and choosing how to live. That's it. That's the whole thing. I'm 62 years old. I'm learning a new language in a foreign country. I'm terrible at surfing, but getting better. I'm writing things people read. I'm building friendships with people who see me, not what I can provide. And every morning, I wake up on my balcony in Lagos, watching the Atlantic crash against limestone cliffs. I remember. I have a point. I always did. I just had to stop letting other people erase it. The fishermen are finished unloading now. The cafe is filling with morning regulars. My coffee cup is almost empty. Dime to order another. Maybe a pastel di nata to go with it. Elena always says I eat too many, but she smiles when she says it. I have nowhere I need to be, no one I need to satisfy, no expectations except my own. Turns out that's exactly the point.